Moving from task management to workflow with ClickUp. Creating a workflow in ClickUp requires some thoughtful planning. Novatech's HR department desperately needed help with the hiring process. Resumes were pouring in from all over. However, documents were lost or not sent to the proper supervisor. It was hard to tell where candidates were in the hiring process. A ClickUp consultant showed them how to streamline the workflow, automate the process, and visualize progress.
Team, this is Nate Goff with the Call Me Group. Wanted to talk to you about a build I did for the recruiting team. So we built out a form that the prospect would fill out. They would go ahead and attach their resume. That would trigger a task to the recruiting department. What they would do is they had a template that would automatically add where it had subtasks of the interview process. Each one of those subtasks would have a doc that was templatized that would automatically upload with all the questions that the interviewer was supposed to ask. Now, at the end of the process, if the offer was accepted by the candidate, then the task would pick up and move to the HR department, which would start a new template of onboarding.
Hey team, wanted to show you how we go from hiring a candidate or even interviewing a candidate all the way through when they finish all of their training. So we can do all this by using ClickUp. We start by having a new hire form. You can build this in ClickUp. You can even have your own company logo. You can customize all of these questions to fit your needs. We've got a lot of clients who actually embed this link on their recruiting websites and things like that to where people can actually apply from there. What they do is they just enter their name, their email address, their phone number. You can even do like a LinkedIn link. You can put a position that they're applying for. And then they can attach their resume or any cover letters or any documentation that they would like for you to have. And then they just hit submit. You can make any of these required fields that you would like. And again, you can customize which questions that you're going to ask the actual person. Once they do that, then it lands in this master list that we built called candidates. You can see from here, we can either group this by status, like not qualified. We could go into like, what are they in? Are they doing a phone interview, first interview, second interview? Are we offering them a position already? We've already extended them the offer. Is it approved? Like those kind of things as well. And then we've got some other ones that are done statuses, and this can trigger them moving through the process or having them go to another position within the lists. So what we've got here is I have some that have already like applied, and what we do is I've got an automation set up to where it will actually activate a template that's called a new candidate hiring process. Okay, so every time a task is created, especially from that form, then it automatically adds some subtasks. Okay, the subtasks are going to be phone interview, first interview, and second interview. Now, when we come into the actual task, whatever the person put in on their form, the new hire form, is actually going to come into here. Okay, so for Marcus Frost, we've got their LinkedIn profile. If anything was put in as an attachment, it would be at the bottom. So now everybody can see with Marcus what's going on. What position are they applying for? When did all of that happen? August 22nd is when that happened, is when they applied. I've got their phone number, email right in front of me. Now, if I'm the person who's going to do the phone interview, what we have set up on the template already is I have a doc that automatically loads for whoever's going to do the phone interview. So now I just have to fill this out. Who is conducting the interview? Date of the interview. Here is the questions to ask. Now, we all know in the world today, we need to treat everybody the same. And so part of that is making sure that the interview questions are already set. So we're asking the same interview questions, at least at the beginning, for every candidate. So you can have these already pulled up, already ready to go. So regardless of who's going to do the phone interview, you've got the questions that they have here. The person who's leading the interview can then put in their actual answers. This is just kind of like a Microsoft Word doc, right? Is if you're used to that. So you can go in and add all of your notes, and it will update to everybody, and it will stay attached to this phone interview. So the next one that we had was going to be the first interview. So the first one was like a phone interview with the HR person. They put in their notes. They say, hey, you know what? I want the person to move forward. So they update their status on that one. And then it creates this one for somebody else who's going to be doing their first interview. HR person will decide who the hiring manager is or who the first interview is, and they'll go ahead and make an assignee. From there, what will happen is we still have these core questions that we're going to ask every single candidate. That way we can stay away from any legal trouble. And we've got also on the plus side of that, like, or on the happier side to things, we can go back and anybody in the future can see what the person's answers were. Like, right. So I asked the question, they answer me, I put it in here with some notes. And then that way I can also add any other questions that I asked and add in some notes as well. Okay. This will follow the candidate through their whole entire process, right? So we also have one for the second interview. We've got a doc there that follows. So for each one of these, you would say, okay, so for the phone interview, we've actually completed that one. So what I would want to do is I would say, okay, that one is completed. It's done. Okay. So now I would move the person on into the first interview. Okay. So you can move them up. Okay. So now what we could do is we can also see different things. So like if I go to the board view, I can see how many people are on their first interview, who's on their second interview, and whose offer is extended. We also can have a calendar that shows what position they're interviewing for and what are they on. So each one of these colors represents a different position. The orange is the AE position. So we can see what position they're trying to hire for, who is the interview with, when is it scheduled for. Okay, so we can see exactly what's going on. If you click into it, then it will take you exactly to what position are they applying for and what's going on with it. And it even gives you your doc. Okay, so this is to help figure out like who's doing what when, right? Now the master list will show every position and what's going on and who's where. But we can also split things up in a different view where we know who has an offer extended, where are they at with things, when was it sent out, right? We can also have a board that just shows who's interviewing for a specific position. On this one, I did the sales position. I even have who was not qualified or even not selected or even not interested. I've got those three categories there to where we can go back later. Let's say we have another position open and we have Darius apply again. We can go back to Darius and see why we felt like he was not qualified the first time and see if we want to interview him again or not, right? So it saves you time, keeps things going from the new application all the way through offer accepted or not selected, right? If the offer is accepted, what we can do is we can actually move them over to a new hire onboarding. Now, new hire onboarding has like two different sides. One is the HR side of things where we would have a template set up to where we have like the IT department and the HR department handling everything, right? So the candidate would obviously have their name there and they would have all these different things that need to happen internally. And the person responsible would be the team, like the IT team or the HR team, right? So that's like setting up emails, setting up computers, 401ks, making sure that you have all of your documentation ready. All of that good stuff is first. Now, the other thing that we have, so this would go ahead and we could have this be a template even when you say, hey, the person's going to start. You can even switch the start date and then all of these dates will happen. Okay. So some of these need to happen before the start date of the person, like setting up the email. So when I click on it, I can actually say, oh, the person is actually starting October 2nd. So when we click this, then will ask me, hey, do you want to update the subtask dates? And I will say, yes, I do. So now all of these dates will happen based off of when things need to be done. So next up, once that's completed, or once that's started and going, we could also add somebody to new hire training. The new hire training is going to be something different, right? Onboarding was internally on the IT side, HR side, payroll side, accounting, all that good stuff, setting up the new employee, getting like badges and emails and stuff like that, right? This one is different. This one would be somebody who starts, and we need to teach them things, right? So we have the training department going through the employee handbook, how to ask for time off, how to use the CRM, setting the 30-day goals with the manager, going and debriefing on the 30-day goals with the manager. So 30, 60, 90, right? Typically my clients will do this for 90 days, and they will have set things. Sometimes you would share this with the hiring manager, and the hiring manager would lead it. And sometimes you actually just have the employee lead it, right? These are things that you need to do. This is the week that you need to do them in. We'd fill out due dates, put them in as the assignee, and then they can run this from their homepage. And so that they know exactly what they need to do. You can also, on some of these, if you would like, the employee handbook, go ahead and attach the employee handbook here, or put it in here as the link so that they can just go read it on their own. They know exactly how to get to it, what's going on, and how everything works, right? So we could do that. And then also another thing that we can do is see where they're at, right? So if we group it by week, we can see Luca Durant is on week 2. These three, Beyonce Swift is in their 30 days, and then Kevin Doncic is on their 60 days. So this is helpful to know like where we at in the process, especially for the training people, right? Like, hey, when would we like the next class to start? Well, we're pretty heavy on this group right here, so we'll want to have them start 2 weeks later or something like that, right? So this will help you level set. You can also use a board view to see this. You can group this by week as well. So you can see how many people you have in each one. And then that way you can control all the hiring. I do have a lot of clients who put all of their training material inside of ClickUp. So how to use a CRM, all the training would be in here using checklists, subtasks, links, docs, everything about how to use a CRM would be in here. And then that's how they run the training is, hey, everybody open up your task or your subtask and let's go through the training. So that's how you would get from having somebody apply all the way through getting their HR documents, all their IT stuff done. Multiple departments are in this, and then also get the individual through their first 90 days of being hired, and they feel comfortable and they feel like they have everything at their fingertips, and they can have this that they could keep to where they could go back to the information. Thanks for your time.